Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another breakfast chat. And today we're going to talk about intermittent fasting, something that goes through waves of popularity, usually due to a few prominent figures making it do so. Here, both in the lifting world, fitness world, and you also see it in general health. And the funny thing to me is that people will bring this up, and I actually got in an argument with someone, had to ban them in my comments. They accused me of being closed-minded, and it's like, well, number one, they didn't realize that I have messed with intermittent fasting in the past. I have used it. It doesn't work with my training style. It's a problem. Number two, I actually keep up with the research on it. And the problem you have with something like intermittent fasting is that as soon as it becomes a trend, everyone ignores the research. They just no longer care because whatever their cult figure that they worship promotes it and does it, and therefore they do it. That their opinion takes priority over not just science, but meta-analysis. And the other problem you have is someone like Dr. Foom who promotes it, and here's the issue. I know medical doctors who think he's a quack, or better yet, medical doctors who think that he's a sellout trying to make a lot of money selling books and seminars, right? That what he's doing actually isn't, he knows that it doesn't work. He knows it's not true. Like the biochemistry and stuff doesn't match what he actually says. And I know MDs saying this. Okay. And they promote fasting as having all these health benefits, fat loss benefits. Well, what does meta-analysis say? There's been meta-analysis done on this. They've looked at it. And for those who don't understand meta-analysis, when someone says, oh, well, I have a study too. Oh, no. When you do a meta-analysis on a topic, you look at every study ever done on the topic, and you compare them and you analyze the individual data to see which ones are stronger and weaker, what the conclusions support, and why you try to find out why there's any differences between the studies. Okay, meta-analysis is basically at this point the highest level of scientific review we have. It's not a single study. It's supposed to look at every study ever done in history on the topic and compare them. Okay, what is meta-analysis concluded about both fat loss? It's concluded about fat loss and health. What they found is that compared to people who spread their meals out, especially when you put it in a metabolic ward, intermittent fasting causes zero additional fat loss. In other words, 100% of the fat loss caused by it is through the calorie deficit that it creates. You don't lose a single drop more fat, right? You don't lose any more from doing the fasting part. We also know that fasted cardio burns less fat. That's been studied individuals. So people will say, oh, well, we do fasted cardio. Are you doing it on a bunch of drugs to get nutrient partitioning? It's the only way it's going to be more effective. And that's not even proven. It's hypothetical. Incidentally, who tends to use it the most? Pre-contest bodybuilders. Well, they fall into that category. But we know that it burns less fat and it burns less calories. That's been studied individually. You burn less calories and less fat if you do cardio fasted in the morning and do not eat first. You just have less energy to do it. Okay? So all of the fat loss is from deficit, but you get people who say, but I've had great results with it. You did, other people don't. Other people flounder on it because they struggle to get anything done in the fasted window. Not everyone feels good fasted. Not everyone can work out fasted. Some people get really, really hungry when they're fasted, and it creates a problem. Some people find it's great for controlling their appetite. And if it is, and it lets you reach a calorie deficit, guess what? It's a useful tool. But keeping in mind, it is a useful tool exclusively for the purpose of creating a calorie deficit. That is what it's used for. It doesn't have any merit outside of that for fat loss. So if it helped you do that, then more power to you. But other people, it doesn't. Because again, the mechanism is calorie deficit. When they've looked at studies, they have found that any of the perceived health benefits that you get from it, there are no health benefits that have been found in meta-analysis beyond fat loss. Losing fat makes your health markers improve, right? We know this. Look at the Twinkie and Mountain Dew diet study. I lost 30 pounds of fat eating Twinkies, Mountain Dew, and protein shakes every day. Horrible diet. He did it as an experiment, nutrition professor. But what did his blood work look like? It improved. His fasting glucose improved, fasting insulin improved, his lipid profiles improved. Everything improved because he lost fat. When we go back and look at intermittent fasting, the blood work increase is directly relevant to the fat loss. And people who fast versus people who don't, they're not any healthier if the fat loss is different. So if the fat loss is the same, they're not any healthier. There's no benefit. There appears to be none. And I don't care that some yogi from whatever country has been doing it for 700 years or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. That doesn't prove that it has health benefits. Guess what? Ancient peoples got stuff wrong sometimes. I know this is going to be a shock, but 1,000 years ago in the world, people sometimes did things that didn't work. They got stuff wrong. Just like we do today sometimes, right? We make mistakes. A lot of times those people were wrong. And if they had no way to measure it, then, maybe you feel a little better because you lost some fat. Maybe it's a delusion from the low blood sugar. I don't know. But that's not how this works. And then we come over to gaining muscle. Okay, this is where it sucks. Almost everyone who practices intermittent fasting to try to gain muscle is small. Okay? You're not giving yourself large enough windows to get in protein and calories. Your muscle growth will be hurt as a result of it. It's not ideal for muscle protein synthesis, even if calories are equal. So here's the problem we run into. If your calorie surplus is equal, and it's not ideal for muscle growth, it means you gain less muscle on the same calories, potentially. Well, that means you would gain more fat. That's not good. Because if the weight gain's the same, it's got to be muscle or fat in a certain ratio. The reality is it's a calorie reducing tool. It doesn't work there. Other thing, people say, yeah, but what about all the growth hormone release? It's identical. Number one, it's identical. Anytime there's a lack of carbohydrate in your body, growth hormone goes up. Okay? When you finally eat, it goes back down. The end result, during the fasted window, your growth hormone is higher, and then it drops to below what your normal levels would have been during the feed window because you're putting more food in during that window. Over a course of 24 hours, the total amount is the same. Number one. Number two, growth hormone's not anabolic to muscles anyways. I know this comes as a shock to people. All right. Arguably, maybe in the context of with large doses of anabolics, it seems to have a synergy. All right, growth hormone has been tested in human subjects, lifters and non-lifters. And when I say tested, I'm talking over $1,000 worth per month put into people. Most of you aren't going to be willing to spend that. We're talking heavy doses have been used in clinical trials. Compared to the control groups, the people using $1,000 to $1,500 of growth hormone every month. Right? That's a house note. That's a house note for a big house. Didn't gain a single ounce more muscle. They don't gain anything. So what makes you think some minor fluctuation that you're causing and it's going to cause you to gain more muscle? That's nonsense. Again, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's a useful fat loss tool. That's it. And if it works for you, and I'm not discounting that, hey, if it works for you and you need to lose body fat and it works for you, by all means use it. But do not go into it thinking that it's going to be useful at all when you're trying to gain muscle. It's going to inhibit your gains. Do not think it's going to give you health benefits outside of the fat loss because the data is showing that it doesn't. And until the data is different, no reasonable person should change their mind about it. Because there's pretty good evidence at this point. Not saying it shouldn't be studied further to make sure we should. We should continue to study it. But so far, it hasn't been very promising. So drop the bullshit, guys. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.